The 5.7 first half banners have been revealed. So we're going to talk about the Skirk and Shenhe banners, both the 4 stars and the 5 stars, breaking each one down, as well as the honestly quite good weapon banner, which has some really nice consolation prizes for people going for Skirk's weapon. Let's talk about it all. Welcome to Jello Impact, where we build and test every single character to help you decide who you want to wish for and build. We just hit 100,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. I am going to give away 4 5 stars. 2 of them are going to be on Twitch, 1 of them is going to be on YouTube, and 1 of them is going to be on Discord. So follow me on Twitch, join the Discord, it's down below, and make sure you're subscribed and watching every video here. One of the videos soon, I'm basically going to comment. I'm not sure if it'll be Skirk that I'm doing the giveaway or the next character. I think I'm going to give people the choice as to whatever they want, but thanks again for the 100,000 subscribers. It is absolutely amazing. So first off, I have a lot of videos on Skirk. So if you have questions, I probably have answers. I've got a guide video like with pre-farming and build. I've got an early access video where I tested a bunch of stuff, and I've got another Ask Jello Skirk video that I'm making. As part of that, I'm going to test constellations C1 versus R1, but the banners have definitely leaning my recommendations one way over the other. So if you want more Skirk stuff, reach out to that. So we're not going to cover everything about Skirk here, but the bottom line is if you want Skirk to be a strong character, have Escoffier #1. That's all you need to make her insanely, ridiculously broken. Farina is not required to make her feel absolutely bonkers broken. Trust me. Yes, it's a decent fall off for Farina damage, but the level is so ridiculously stratospheric for this character. As long as you have Escoffier, you're perfectly fine. Without Escoffier, as long as you have a good build and other good 4-star or 5-star Hydro and Cryo characters, you will 100% be able to 36-star the Spiral Abyss. She is not useless. Her better non-Escoffier teams even reach levels that even a year and a half ago would have been very good. It's just with the current DPS comparisons being so high, it's a drastic fall off from Escoffier stuff. So the bottom line is, as long as you plan on getting Escoffier at some point, Skirk will be your strongest or second strongest DPS, depending if you have Moika or not. And played at her peak, with her peak teams, with her best combos, and with good player skill, it is possible she reaches very close to Moika level, and in some cases outperforming her. I know that's crazy to say, but that is mine and others' experiences testing. But of course, wait a while. Again, I still don't recommend pulling Skirk for meta. If you have Escoffier, I actually think pulling Skirk for meta is a decent idea. There's going to be hard content featuring these bosses that don't like to be frozen, and she just does a lot of freaking damage. She's very fun to play, very easy to play that normal attack focused playstyle. It's very fun and easy. So I actually think as long as you have Escoffier already, I think Skirk is a decent meta pull pickup actually, but I still don't really recommend pulling DPSs for meta. If you have to choose between Skirk for meta or Moika for meta, obviously Moika is the right choice. She overall has still higher peaks, and she has much more versatility and flexibility, but I do strongly consider Skirk to be the second best DPS in the game after playing her for this last week. So that's Skirk. Shenhe has a really interesting case. So if you want to get Shenhe, if you find her super hot like I do, I think she has one of the coolest and hottest designs in the entire game. Picking her up for your Skirk or for your Ayaka is a great idea. Again, I said if you want to pick up Shenhe. I do not, and I repeat, I do not recommend anyone pull Shenhe in any way for meta. She is only barely the best in slot for Skirk, only in some content. In some content, it will be Mualani. Mona, if you have her Constellation 4, which not everyone does, but some people do, and you might be able to get closer with the 5-star selector coming in 6.0 for the Genshin anniversary. We're going to get another standard banner selector. Mona C4 is attainable and is technically higher than Shenhe, at least at C0, R0 Shenhe. So can you use Shenhe with Skirk? Is she, kind of best in slot? Yes, but she is very much not required. Mona is your free-to-play option. Dahlia is right there and a very good free-to-play Skirk option. The biggest reason for this is that Skirk can only utilize one Shenhe skill per rotation, whereas Ayaka can use 2. So Shenhe is, in my opinion, a good meta pickup for Ayaka. If you want to make Ayaka her strongest, I do think Shenhe is a good idea to get eventually. Maybe not the first choice. Maybe you're getting, Escoffier constellations or Farina constellations first, but I do think Shenhe is a good choice for your Ayaka. I do not think she's a worthwhile pickup for Skirk. Just if you don't have anything in that last slot, hey, use Candice. Use Dahlia. Use Mona, who's coming in the next patch. Don't use Diona. Yeah, so I really, really want to be clear that I am dissuading you for pulling Shenhe. However, if it were me, I would pull Shenhe because she has the coolest design in the game, and it's totally awesome to use her with Skirk, and that is just such a cool duo. I just love it to pieces. So happy with it. For the 4 stars, right? Diona, I actually like Diona on one team in particular, Moeka Melt. Really, really good option if you don't want to use Sucrose, don't have Sucrose, don't have Shalonin, don't want to use Shalonin, want to use them on another team, don't have Yansan or want to use the Yansan on another team. Diona is a great use case on Moeka Melt. 250 EM with her C6 is a lot, and Cryo Resonance is really cool. 15% crit rate is very solid. So I like Diona with Moeka Melt. Her only problem with Moeka Melt is she does extend rotations, but she can get out 2 rotations perfectly fine, because the first rotation you lead with Diona's Burst, the next rotation you end the rotation with Diona's Burst, because that's where the cooldown lines up, and then by the 3rd rotation you're kind of grief, but nothing surviving 3 Moeka rotations, so it's perfectly fine. It's also good for multi-wave because unlike Sucrose, you don't have to like reapply VV. And if you happen to have Elegy, I don't actually know if it procs Elegy, you know? It might be that I was just thinking that it was proccing Elegy, but it's not. I'll have to look into that. But regardless, I like Diona in that team. Diona with Skirk though, no good. Diona with Shenhe, no good. You know, Candice, I tested Candice with Skirk actually. I found her like a pretty solid 4th slot. So, you know, something like Escoffier, Candice, Dahlia, you can do that, right? If you don't have Farina, you don't have Mona, you don't have all of that. I do find both Candice and Dahlia a little bit worse than other options. I will talk about this list a bit more in my Ask Jello Skirk video, but I kind of have Farina as by far, you know, not by far, but I have Escoffier as like part of Skirk that's like necessary. Farina is the next best support. These 3 are pretty much tied depending on how you look at it. Mualani technically can do the best under some circumstances. If the enemy has high resistances, then it could be Shenhe. Sometimes it can be Mona if you're bursting them down, and if you have C4 Mona, she's just always better. Yelan and Sitlali are really good too. They're really, really close to these guys. Dahlia, I have kind of an unknown as people haven't necessarily optimized the combos. And then I find Candice pretty good, Xingqiu pretty good. And then I think that these are kind of here. I did test them. I'm not really sure where to place them. Like they all do different things that are pretty solid. Like they're all solid. They're just not that great. So I think that the tier list for Skirk's teammates is kind of like this. And all of these will do. The other ones that are not on here will be very cope. But everyone will have at least these 2, so I'm not too worried. As long as you have Escoffier, I'm very confident that everyone will have a good time playing their Skirk. Now it's time to move on to the really juicy stuff, the weapon banner. So, okay, this weapon banner is really, really good overall for Skirk wanters. If you already have Escoffier's weapon, it's not as good, but let me tell you why. So first, looking at the 5 stars, Skirk's weapon is amazing for her. It's really, really good. The only weapon, there's no weapon that comes close to it for Skirk. It's gonna feel like a really big upgrade no matter what you're using. It's far from required to make Skirk feel like an amazing unit. You can check out my early access video if you want to see that. But it's an amazing weapon. The only time I might not consider getting this weapon, if you're looking to pull extra copies of Skirk, like we'll talk about her constellation, you know, versus the weapon. The only time I wouldn't consider pulling the weapon over her constellation is if you already have Ayato's weapon or maybe Mist Splitter. I think Primordial Jade Cutter gives too much crit rate to really be a viable option on Skirk for real. And Mist Splitter it's still a pretty big disparity between her Sig and Mist Splitter. And if you lose to the weapon banner, first of all, it's only 1 pity, first of all, compared to like getting her C1. It costs 13 pity less than the character banner, right? 13 pity less, and you have a better chance of getting something useful. Sure, you have a small chance of getting a Mona if you lose this 50-50, but if you lose this, getting Calamity Queller for your Escoffier weapon is really, really solid. It's basically her 2nd best in slot, as it works extra good for attack scaling off-field characters. If you happen to have Shenhe, obviously it's really good as well. And if you have Yansan, it's really good on Yansan as well. It's technically his 2nd best in slot behind, again, Escoffier's weapon. So it's not so bad to lose to this weapon overall if you're going for Skirk, and then you obviously get Skirk's weapon, which is great. Again, reminder, don't wish for 4 stars. It's really a crapshoot to get any 4-star weapons. So yeah, don't wish for the 4 stars. But if you do end up with some of these 4-stars, these are often used as buffing weapons. Sifos Moonlight, arguably Kazuha's best in slot. Kazuha not as favorite in the meta, but not a lot of people have his Sig, and even if you do, it's really hard to build. Sifos Moonlight, very, very good sword. It is also quite good on a lot of other characters, but mostly it's good for Kazuha. But you do need high refinements, so you know, kind of like that. This other one, Wandering, whatever this is, Wandering Evenstar. I swear, Wandering Evenstar has been recommended on so many like 4-star weapon recommendation teams that I've seen, and they just recommend this, and I don't even have it. So I'm really excited that it's on this. They gain 25% of their elemental master, 24% as bonus attack, and party members gaining 30% of this buff for the same duration. This is often Nahida's best weapon, who also has kind of a bit fallen off in the meta. Maybe the 4-stars aren't as crazy as I think at first glance. It's just because I've seen them over the years so often. But this is still a great weapon. Like, there's a lot of random use cases that this will be very good. Elemental Mastery main stat. A lot of Catalyst users are going to use this. Whenever you got a Catalyst that wants Elemental Mastery, maybe Sucrose, maybe Nahida, and other characters want attack percent, that's pretty cool. Good weapon. And then Aquamarine, I'm pretty sure this is like the only buffing Claymore. So if you end up in a position where you're using a Claymore as a support, it kind of does the same thing as the Wandering Evenstar and buffs attack from the Claymore. So this is also, again, not that crazy of a weapon to have. Yeah, I was all really excited for this weapon banner. Now I'm realizing like these weapons are kind of niche. Like they're kind of good, but they're also kind of niche. It's kind of low-key good, low-key niche. It was kind of like really crazy in the Sumeru meta, and it's kind of fallen off a bit more now. Sacrificial Bow, pretty solid, one of the more decent 4-star bows. And then Favonius Lance, obviously one of the best weapons in the game. So everybody be using Favonius Lance. Shenhe be using Favonius. If you don't have another one, Escoffier. You know, anyone can use Favonius Lance. So many characters using Favonius Lance. So not bad to get more Favonius Lance. Again, do not wish for any of the 4-stars. Only go for this weapon banner if you are going for Skirk's weapon and you have some nice constellation prizes in almost all of the other weapons. You probably will end up not being mad that you have at some point. Not that you hope to lose to anything here, but the other stuff is like not so bad. So Skirk weapon or her C1, I'm kind of feeling like it's the same thing. It's C1 if you already have a really good 5-star weapon, and it's her 5-star weapon if you don't. Here's Haran and Mist Splitter versus her Sig. This is the Genshin Scientist. Again, I think Jade Cutter is fake. So it looks like Haran and Mist Splitter are even a bit closer than I thought. The other advantage of going for her signature weapon, though, is if you can use Mist Splitter on someone else, then this allows you to do that. Whereas if you go for her C1, she's taking both your Mist Splitter and your C1. Whereas if you go for the weapon, you're still getting a very large, 20% damage increase, which not quite as big as the C1 if you already have Mist Splitter, but you can use the Mist Splitter on someone else. And you also are more likely to get other stuff along the way that's more useful than this stuff that you're getting along the way. This stuff is not that crazy, right? So I think in general, I would recommend weapon before C1, but you could absolutely justify the C1 over the weapon. And then for Shenhe, weapon or C1, kind of neither. You kind of only want her weapon if you lose to it here. It's okay to go for, but it's good. It's especially good in her burst playstyle. It allows you to front load more damage, but it's good. Shenhe's C1 is basically only useful for her to build less ER for her weapon. It's really hard to build enough ER with her weapon, but I would just go, if you do go for Shenhe, just go with Fav Lance unless you end up getting this. Don't get her C1, just get C0 because she's hot, and focus your energy. If you're wondering, this is a big one. If you're wondering, say, I'm going to go for her weapon, should I get Shenhe then? No. Then you should go for her C1, right? And then should I get Shenhe? No. Go for her C2. Shenhe is too much of a side grade to the other characters that are possible in her slot that you should always go for Skirk constellations, Farina constellations, Escoffier constellations. As far as I know, this is still her vertical investment priority, but I will be double checking it for myself on the early access server in the coming days. There's just some other stuff I needed to test before I activated a constellation since it's permanent. So yeah, Farina C1, C2 I think is probably best, then Skirk weapon, then Escoffier weapon, then Escoffier R1, then Skirk C1. But if we already have a 5-star weapon for Skirk, then this moves down here, right? If you already have, and by a 5-star weapon, I don't mean any 5-star weapon. Absolution is worse than Finale of the Deep, right? Uraku is worse than Finale of the Deep. I'm talking about Haran or Mistsplitter only when I mean 5-star weapon. And again, this is the Genshin Scientist. Go check him out. I link him in every video. Oh, I see it's blocked out. Here, there you go. The Genshin Scientist, he's linked down below. Let me know what you're wishing for. I know I'm wishing for a Skirk and her weapon, but let me know in the comments. Subscribe while you're down there. We just hit 100,000 subscribers. And if you don't want to, that is totally fine. Just watching the video has been more than enough. Thanks so much. Bye for now.